BC for response 4. Let f be a function defined for x greater than 0 with f of e equaling 2 and f prime, the first derivative of f, given by f prime of x equals x squared natural log of x. Part A, write an equation for the line tangent to the graph at the point e comma 2. All right, so remember, in order to write the equation of a line, right, we always need two things, right? So the equation of any line ever, we need, number one, a point. Well, that's convenient. They gave us the point. It is e comma 2, right? Number two, a slope, right? Well, my slope is just going to be f prime of e, which would be an e squared natural log of e. So it's going to be an e squared, right? So my slope is an e squared. Once I know that, my answer should be point slope, y minus the y value, which is the 2, equals my slope, e squared, in parentheses x minus the x value. This is totally right. They didn't ask you to solve for y, but if you feel more comfortable, you can add the 2 over. If you choose to do that, I would suggest that you leave the 2 nice and separate and just add him over as a plus 2 at the end. Either of those answers are fine. It would be foolish to write something in slope-intercept unless you were asked to do so. Less simplifying is always better than more simplifying. The more you simplify, the more you run the risk of making a silly mistake that turns your right answer into a wrong answer. And you don't want to turn your yes into a no, like we do sometimes with like our parents when we ask to go to a movie and they say yes, and then we tell them who we were planning on going with, and suddenly the answer is no. Oops. So stop while you're ahead. You had the right answer here. Stop. Cool. Part B. Is the graph of f concave up or concave down on the interval from 1 to 3? Give a reason for your answer. So when you hear concavity, I'm hoping that your brain jumps to the second derivative, right? So you're going to have to derive this, right? So you're going to derive this. When we differentiate, we're going to get f double prime, and that's what we use to figure out if something is concave up or concave down. So when we hear concavity, right? So when we hear concavity of f, we want our brain to think, oh, this is about f double prime's sine. Oh, that's hard. So we're going to ignore that apostrophe. This is about the sine of f double prime, right? So that's what your brain needs to think is, okay, I need the sine of f double prime. So right away, you have to derive this. So when we differentiate, we get f double prime of x equals, this is a product rule, right? U dv plus v du, right? So that's going to end up being an x plus a 2x natural log of x, right? If I factor out an x, I get 1 plus 2 natural log of x, right? So they ask on the window from 0 to 3. The easiest way to figure this out is to figure out where this thing has any zeros if it does. So if this thing had zeros, right, f double prime would be 0 either when x is 0, which is not in the interval, so not included in this interval because they said for x greater than 0, right? Or when 1 plus 2 natural log of x is 0, right? That would be when 2 natural log of x is 0. Is negative 1. Come on, brain. So that would be when natural log of x is a negative 1/2. When you exponentiate, your only 0 would be at the square root of e, right? And the square root of e, right, is smaller. The square root of e. Oh, hey, it's not the square root of e. Come on, brain. It's 1 over the square root of e because I was panicking for a sec. So this is smaller than 1, right? Because the square root of e is a number bigger than 1. So 1 divided by a number bigger than 1 is smaller than 1, which means that the only places this could possibly change sign are in intervals that are not included in the window from 0 to 1. So if you look, so x is positive on the window from 1 to 3. That's pretty obvious, right? And 1 plus 2 natural log of x is also going to be positive on the window. Here's the logic. So the logic being that we know this thing is only 0 at a value that is smaller than 1. And if I try plugging in, let's say 1, what we'll see is I get 1 plus a 0, which is positive. So this is also positive on the interval. So f double prime is greater than 0 on the window from 1 to 3, which means f double prime, or f of x, rather, is concave up on the window from 1 to 3, right? And that was their question was, is the graph concave up or down on the interval? Give a reason, and here's our reason, and we found f double prime to back it up, right? You did have to find f double prime. You did have to figure out that it's greater than 0. Part C. Use anti-differentiation to find f of x. So we're now going to have to integrate, essentially, to find f of x. Now, because we have a product that is not u sub, this is going to be parts, right? So what they're asking us to do, we're going to find f of x by integrating x squared natural log of x with respect to x. So this is a parts problem. Anytime you have a product that you can't use simple u sub on, it's pretty much parts. So when we talk about picking our u in parts, we use the acronym LIAT, right? LIAT. So our u is going to be, if we have one, it's going to be a log. So that means that this is my u, and this whole thing is my dv. So u is the natural log of x. My dv is an x squared dx. du would then be a 1 over x dx, and my v would be an x cubed over 3. So I'm going to do this, right? So I'm going to multiply these together, and I'm going to get that, and then I'm going to do this. So my f of x is going to be uv, which would be an x cubed over 3 times this natural log, minus the integral of v du, which is going to end up being an x squared over 3 dx, right? Which I can now integrate that piece. So my f of x is going to be an x cubed over 3, natural log of x. When I up the power by 1 and divide by the new power, I end up getting that this is an x cubed over 9, right, because it was already over 3, plus some constant of integration. We save the constant of integration until we've gotten through the last one of these integrals. And now I'm going to use the fact that f of e is 2, right? So f of e is 2. So I get 2 equals e cubed over 3 times a 1 minus an e cubed over 9 plus a c, right? So let's come up here for a sec. So I end up getting, if we combine these, this is a 3e cubed over 9 minus an e cubed over 9. So 2 equals 2e cubed over 9 plus c, right? When we go ahead and subtract this guy over, right, I end up getting 2 minus 2e cubed over 9 equals my c, right? So this is my c, and then all I have to do is recopy this answer with this value in for c. And it's not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but that's what we have to do. So if I recopy my final answer to part c, I believe this was c, yep, I end up getting that f of x is an x cubed over 3 natural log of x minus an x cubed over 9 plus a 2 minus a 2e cubed over 9. And that's about as nice as I would leave it, and that's exactly how the AP had it as well. Aside from the fact that I think they wrote this as a 1/9 instead of an x cubed over 9. I think they wrote a 1/9 times an x cubed. But that's the gist, and there you have it.